Hey guys, back again. Been a while since my last update. Sorry about that. I wanted to get out of the way a lot of the refactoring and stuff before I started updating again, because otherwise I just don't have that much to show. And because it's such a large project, there's like a lot of stuff that I have to like do that kind of sets things up for later. But anyway, so there's quite a bit of new stuff I could show right now, but I'm just going to focus on a few things. So I guess first I'll start out with this mini-map. You can see on the left side of the screen there's a little mini-map now. So there's going to be fog of war on parts of the map that you haven't seen yet, and that'll be black. And then as you move around, it reveals parts of the map. So that's kind of like an RTS game. You don't really see this in platformers, but I think I'll make good use out of it in this game. There's a bunch of reasons why I think it makes the game better to have that. So anyway, so as you can see, as I jump up, anything I can see on the screen gets revealed on the map. And then, yeah, so that's pretty cool. I'll show you like a few other cool things about it. So one of the tough things about a mini-map is lag, like dealing with lag. So if you do it wrong, it'll lag like crazy, basically. But I'll just demonstrate that mine is not done wrong. So I could have a map that's absolutely massive. So right now, this is the map. It's not that big. It's like in the actual game, the maps are going to be a lot bigger than this. Let's say I add like a few hundred height, or like that's like roughly 100 height extra. I'll do a bit more, so just so you can see. So now this is like really, really tall map. And then I'll make it really wide as well. This is gonna lag while I paste some stuff. Okay, so that should be fine. So now the map is both really tall and really wide. But you'll see that it really doesn't lag. Okay, anyway, so now you can see like the tiles that you see on the minimap are a lot smaller because there's more to show. But it's not lagging in any way, shape, or form right now. Whereas if I had like a little black square for every tile, and then I just removed the square when you reveal something, there'd be like millions of squares and it would lag like crazy. So what I'm doing is a method called a render texture, where you create an image. You draw something on the screen, create an image of it, and then you get rid of the stuff you drew and you just use the image. So it's like an image like any other image. But yeah, there's a way of doing it. It's a render texture plus a mask is how you do it efficiently. So I can have a map, and also, as I mentioned in a previous video, I can't show it that easily right now, but I'm only drawing the tiles on the screen. So in the actual game world, there's no lag because it's only drawing what's on screen. And in the mini-map, there's no lag because I'm using a render texture and a mask. So that's why I'm able to do this. So yeah, that's one thing. I'll show you a couple more little things about the mini-map. One other cool feature is, because I've shown previously, I have these things called zoom ranges, where it'll zoom in and out depending on your position. There's going to be other types of camera work, but for example, when you zoom in and out, it kind of looks cool on the mini-map. So I added a zoom range where when I move right, it's going to zoom in. So now you can see that the mini-map, the visible area is getting smaller, and therefore it's exposing less when I move. So like, you know, that's one cool thing about the mini-map is like when you zoom in and out, everything works perfectly. And I guess one other small thing I could show is it's like dynamic size. So it'll take the size I want on the sidebar and the size of the actual world and figure everything out for me. So for example, I could make it much taller. Instead of 220 pixels wide, I'll make it, or tall, I'll make it 400. So I'll make it taller, and then I guess I'll make I'll do that thing again where I make I'll add more in the world, maybe like this. So now it'll dynamically figure everything out and draw it perfectly on the minimap. See, so now the minimap is taller and the world is taller, but everything still works. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so the minimap isn't done. There's a few little problems with it. I'm not going to get into everything. There's going to be more features on the minimap, like entities that move around are going to be on the minimap. The minimap's going to be pretty cool. This is just like the first version of it. But yeah, anyway, so that's the minimap. Let's get rid of this stuff. So next thing I'll show is the camera. So let me just refresh it. So I came up with a new system for my camera. I've never seen it before. I'm really happy with it. Actually, let me just reset the minimap size. So in most games, you do what's called like a center cam, which is the player is always centered basically no matter what. And I figured out an alternative to the center cam that I really like. So here, this is what it would look like with the center cam. Oh, let me just go like this. So this is what most games do. I think this is going to work. Yeah, so this is what a center cam looks like. See how the player, if I jump, it's always centered no matter what, it's always centered. The only time it's not centered is if I'm at the edge of the map. So that's what most games do. It's pretty decent, but there's a few problems with it. For one thing, when you jump, you move up pretty quick when you first start jumping, so the camera has to like jerk up. So you see how it like kind of jerks up? And when the player is stuck in the middle of the screen and everything's moving around the player, more of the screen is updating at any given time, and it's harder on the eyes, I find. So it's decent with center cam. There are benefits to center cam, but I think my new cam is better. But one of the main downsides to center cam, which I'll try to demonstrate here. Okay, let me just see. So one of the downsides is when you jump, let's say it was zoomed in more. Instead of 0.5, I'll say 0.65. If I wanted to use center cam for my game, here's one of the major problems with it. When I'm jumping in the air, oh wait, I have to actually manually add the center cam. Okay, so now when I jump in the air, I can no longer see the platform I jumped from. See how it kind of like, right now I'm on a certain platform, then when I jump, I can't see it. So a big part of platforming games is you want to land on stuff. Like you know, something's walking along, I want to jump on it. But if I can't see where I'm landing, that's a problem. So center cam is unusable past a certain zoom. At this zoom, you could not use center cam. It's just ugly. Like you can't see. If there's something I want to jump on, I can't see where it is, so I can't time my jump properly. So center cam only works when you're more zoomed out, like Mario. Whereas in my game, I want to be able to zoom in and out. That's pretty important to me. So that's one problem with center cam. Or like, say I wanted to jump on this, you know, slime here. With center cam, I can't really see. I can't see it for a little bit, and then I kind of just guess where it is. So that's the main problem with center cam. And then the other problem is it's just kind of jerky and hard on the eyes, like when you do this. So now I'll show you my new cam. My new cam I call platform cam. Why didn't that work? Anyway, platform cam. So the platform cam, what it does is the X works the same as center cam. It's always centered on the X-axis, but on the Y-axis, it doesn't move at all. It basically it checks which platform you're on, and it calls that the base. And then only when you change base, it eases up to the new base. So the Y-axis of the camera doesn't move at all unless I land on a new base. So now, when I don't have that problem where it's all jerky, remember where like the camera's moving up and down? This is actually much easier on the eyes. If you look at them side by side, which I'll show you right now. See how this is kind of easy on the eyes because nothing's moving? Now compare that to center cam. Yeah. Okay, so now remember what you just looked at. Now compare that to center cam once I land it. Okay, so like now look at it. See how it's kind of, it's like the camera's moving too much. Before the camera wasn't moving at all when I do this, but now the camera's just like going up and down, up and down. When you do that through the whole game, it's just like just take a feel for how this feels, right? And now take a feel for how this feels. See? Now, isn't this smoother? Isn't this nicer on the eyes? So now I don't have the jerkiness problem, and I don't have the problem where I can't see what I'm landing on. So that allows me, like not seeing what I'm landing on allows me to allow the game to be played when you're more zoomed in. And yeah, so then the way, now the downside to platform cam you might think is, with center cam you're always centered. Whereas with platform cam, when I jump to something, like right now, I'm like, right here, I'm like at the top of the screen. So you might say, well, the player's not really, like it looks weird when the player's not at the top of the screen. Like when it's not around the center of the screen, it just kind of looks weird. So the way I make up for that is by default, the player isn't centered on the y-axis, it's a little bit lower. So right now, I'm lower than the center. And then when I jump, I'm higher than the center. So when you're most of the time lower than the center and then sometimes higher than the center, it kind of averages out to the center. But yeah, like when you look at it at a more reasonable zoom, say 45, it looks perfectly fine. It really doesn't. So this is 45% zoom. It doesn't bother me at all that the player is not centered. I find it's better. So I'll just jump around a bit so you get an idea. Like, to me, this is way better than having the camera jumping all over the place. So like the fact that the player isn't really dead center on screen, it's not a problem for me. And then you might say, okay, well the other problem is the camera kind of lags behind the player. So like I have to wait now for the camera to kind of catch up where it needs to be. But the thing is, when you land on something, even if I jump right after landing, like it's just not that big a deal when it lags behind the player a bit. It's smoother because it can ease to a start, ease to an end. And you know, you need some time when you land on a platform to think about what you're going to do next. So most of the time, it's not even an issue. But yeah, anyway, there are a bunch of pros and cons to it, but I think platform cam's better. And I'm really excited to have a game where I'm using platform cam. So yeah, so that's the minimap and the camera. Yeah, now I'll show you a couple more little things. Another little thing I did was I created a system where, let me show you. So the game is made up of a bunch of different types of tiles, right? It's a tile-based game. So now I drew a grid on the screen so you can see. So okay, so you can see like this isn't one tile. This is actually like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tiles, right? So each tile, each different drawing of a tile has a different ID. And so when I convert the boundaries into like the actual images that you use for the tiles, it's like 12, 7, 4, 22, 11, whatever. But when I'm making the game, that's really like inconvenient. I don't have to remember every ID. So what I did was I created a system where everything's a 1 or a 0. A 1 means there's a boundary, a 0 means there's no boundary. And then I have like this function convert basic to tile. It'll go through each boundary and figure out which image to show. So for example, So you start out the level like down here. I'll just mess around with what you start out with so you can see it's like automatically doing it. Okay, let's go. So just try to remember what I'm doing in this region, and then I'll show you it automatically get converted to tiles. So I'll add some random, and I think there's like a, I'll just get rid of the lever and the bars for now. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some tiles like in this region, and it's gonna automatically convert them to the images I want. So I'll do like a little staircase here. I'll do some like little gaps, do a little wall halfway through the gaps, you know, do some weird stuff up here. That, I don't know, I'll just do a bunch of random stuff. So yeah, so this just makes level design a lot easier when you have this system. I'm gonna turn off the grid because it looks bad. See, these are the tiles I just drew. I'm stuck now, but like it'll automatically figure out which images I want to show. So that'll save me a lot of time in the long run. And in the actual game, there's going to be slopes as well. So the ones in the zero system is not going to be totally perfect. Like I'm going to have some other numbers for slopes. And I'm also going to have ice tiles. So when I'm done, it's going to be more complicated. But for this version of the game, it's working perfectly. For all the different types of tiles I have right now, it works perfectly. Yeah, so that's one thing that's going to aid me with level design. And then the other thing is, ideally, you don't want to have to code the level like this. Like I can't really, it's hard to like picture what this looks like, really, even if it is just ones and zeros. And then same with this, like when I add in enemies, you know, there's going to be like, it's ideally you don't want to have to code it directly, so you want to have a level editor. So I did actually start building a level editor that I'm going to use. So this is the first version of the level editor. It's just a grid, and I can place tiles on it, and then I can like toggle which tile, you know, whether it's a slope or not. So I can create like a little slope here, go like that. I can do ice tiles. I can do ice tiles that are slopes. I can erase tiles. I can do platforms, like tiles that you can jump through, you can land on. Ice platforms. So yeah, like, and then I can turn off the grid. I can change the zoom. I can say like the map is wider or taller, or I can add like 10 at a time. So here I have, you know, but yeah, so right now this is pretty basic. There's going to be far more features, and it's going to allow you to place enemies, starting points, camera movement, items, doors, bars, whatever. It's going to do everything. And I'm going to use my own custom level editor that I built from scratch to actually design the actual game. And that's going to be pretty cool, I think. It's going to mean I'm able to do a better job on the level design because I have like an actual level editor. And then I think for the first version of the game, there will be no level editor available to the player. But if the game like does well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this level editor. It'll be more complicated than this, where like it'll be more, you'll be able to build like a full level, but it'll be modified so that it's more user-friendly for like someone who's not a programmer. And then I'm also going to have a system where you can share levels and play other people's levels. And I'll probably have like a featuring system where I feature like good level designers and good maps. And that way, if you want to play a good map, good custom map, you just go to the featured section and there'll be like a whole bunch of cool maps that are made by random people. So it'll be kind of like Mario Maker. But yeah, so but the level editor for this version of the game is just for me. So like when I'm like designing it, I'm more just thinking what's going to be convenient for me when I design the game. And then for the next version of the level editor, it'll be what's convenient for other people. And yeah, this is missing like a ton of features. This is only like 5% done. I have a lot of work to do on this. But yeah, ultimately, there'll be like a button where I can say like test, and then it'll bring me like something like this, where I'll design a bunch of stuff, then I'll click test, and then I'll play for a bit, and then I'll say, okay, go back to designing, and then I'll do a bit more design, and I'll test. So it'll be like a full-scale level editor that's like fully functional. But yeah, so at this point in time, oh yeah, actually one more thing I wanted to mention with regard to the camera. Let me just see, I'm like stuck in the corner here. I need some way, I'll just go like this. Put it back the way it was. Another thing with the camera is when you do platform cam, the vertical space is kind of more valuable than the horizontal space, because if I were to like, instead of putting the sidebar, like instead of putting the user interface on a sidebar, if it were like horizontal and it was taking up like horizontal space, then when I like jump, you know, I'd have even less space to go. Like if the sidebar that's currently on the left was on the top right now, I'd be like touching the sidebar every time I jump, you know? So with platform cam, you need as much vertical, you can't really afford to waste any of your vertical space. So that's why the user interface is on the left. It's just a full-on sidebar that's opaque. There's going to be all kinds of stuff on the sidebar. But yeah, that's, if you're wondering why I chose to put the sidebar on the left, that's why I did it. But then one issue with putting it on the left is now if you center the player based on like what the other space on the screen that's available, the problem is I'm looking at the monitor like this, but then the player is like a little bit off because the sidebar pushes everything over. So another thing I did with the camera is the player isn't actually centered on the x-axis right now. It's a little bit to the left. That way my eyes line up with the player better. So it should be like, let's see here. Yeah, so like here, this is where I define how much offset the player is on the left. So for example, if it were, right now it's barely noticeable, it almost looks centered. But if I were to say like way off to the left, you'll see what I mean. So now, obviously the player's not centered anymore. But yeah, so I actually offset the player a little bit to make up for the fact that the sidebar kind of messes with your eyes a bit. And then on the y-axis, I offset it so that when you jump, like, so that most of the time you're a little bit lower than center, and then when you jump, you're a little bit higher than center, and it kind of averages out. But anyway, there's quite a lot of stuff I did. Maybe I'll show you one other little thing. Let me put the bars back. So I had like a lever and some bars. When I refactored the NPC, because when I first coded it, I didn't really do it right. Okay, well, it's not supposed to start inside the bars like that, but that's probably some weird test code I wrote that's messing it up. That's not actually a bug, probably. What? That was weird. Okay, well, I was going to show you that I improved the NPCs a bit. Let me just, maybe that is a bug. Let me just write it down. Okay, but yeah, so the NPCs, one like difference is it's pretty much the same as before, although like the back end is a lot more clean. But for example, say he's standing where some bars are and then I close the bars, he'll move out of the way. Or if there's nowhere for them to move right now, there's no, like, they'll just stand there. Because right now, all the bars are blocking their way. and there's nowhere else to go, so now they won't walk anywhere. Or if I stand on top of an NPC, he'll get annoyed and move to a different spot because they don't like you standing right in front of them. And they'll always move to an open spot. And if they move, and I'm still standing there, they'll move again. So you can kind of mess around with them a bit. But if there's nowhere to move to, for example, like these guys, then they just stand there. But also, I guess you might have noticed, it's kind of hard to see, but one of the NPCs has an injury on his arm. Actually, 3 of them do here, and then one of them's sick. Let me see if I can show you some more. But yeah, instead of it used to be that all NPCs had like a little injury on their wrist, but I decided that I can't really reuse them as well if they all have the same injury because it looks too repetitive. So I added a couple more injuries. I'll just add some more NPCs so you can see. The injury is random. Okay, I don't know. The injury is random, so maybe it might be hard to show them all, but hopefully I'll get lucky here. Okay, that's not showing them all. I'm just gonna add a whole bunch of NPCs here. But yeah, I'm not gonna show you every little thing I did with the NPCs and like all the stuff I did since the last update, but trust me, I did a lot of stuff since the last update. Okay, wow, that's a lot of NPCs. So let me just zoom in actually. Is it a bug? Okay, so now you'll see that some NPCs are sick. They have like dots all over them. Some of them have an injury on their arm. Some of them have an injury on their chest. And some of them have no injury. And when they're sick, their eyes are a little bit yellow, like this guy right here. Wait, you can't see me pointing at the screen, but when they're sick, their eyes are yellow. And then you can kind of notice right now the guy's scratching his chest. If you have an arm injury, you'll scratch your arm periodically. If you have a chest injury, you'll scratch your chest periodically. See, that guy's scratching his arm. If you're sick and you have spots all over you, you'll scratch either your arm or your chest. And if you have no injury, you will never scratch anything. And then they'll all like walk around randomly, and they'll all do other little stuff like tilt their head and react to the player. But yeah, the scratching is specific to the injury. I still have to do that when you talk to them. It'll show like the dialogue, and then the dialogue, if you're sick, it'll show up on the dialogue. The dialogue's broken right now, so I'm not going to try to talk to anyone. But yeah, that's one thing, how I'm getting more use out of the NPCs, is they have random color, like skin color, hair color, eye color. They have random injury as well, and then they do random stuff. So even though this is all the same NPC, it kind of looks like not the same NPC. Like it looks like I did more than one. I'm just getting a lot of use out of them right now, basically. So anyway, that's okay. That's one bug that I didn't fix, is where if he's walking to a certain location and then I've closed the bars on his way there, he's supposed to change his mind and go somewhere else. But it's not really a bug because I haven't actually fixed it yet. Once, like, that'll be fixed. But anyway, so yeah, I refactored a lot of stuff, and then I had a bunch of well, I'm not. Let's just put it this way. I'm probably going to update periodically instead of... I was gone for a few months. I'm probably going to continue updating periodically. But there are certain problems with doing that. I don't know if I even really want to get into it, but I may decide that I'll pause the updates and then resume them when I'm closer to finishing the game. That there's certain pros and cons to doing that instead. But for the time being, I'm going to update once in a while with my progress. Although even now, even though I spent a ridiculous amount of time refactoring, I still have a little bit left to do. So the next update might not be as big, but there's definitely going to be some stuff I do on the sidebar and the minimap, and I'm probably going to have an update soon. For example, like none of the NPCs show up on the minimap or the enemy, or the bars or the lever. Whereas I want everything on the minimap. I think the minimap should have everything on it. But anyway, that'll be it for now. Trust me, there's going to be some serious... I know maybe some people might think like, oh my god, I've been like a year or whatever, and I still haven't really made that much progress, which is true. I could have made a lot more progress, but at the same time, it'll come for sure, because I'm in a really good spot right now where I can make some serious progress. I don't have to just keep redoing the same stuff over and over. And the other problem is I was like having trouble like getting in hours because I have a job, and when I get home from my job I'm tired. But now I'm getting better at that, so that's another reason why I'll be making more progress. But anyway, wish me luck. I'm definitely like fully committed to making this game. For the time being, I'm going to continue the updates. And I think there's going to be some cool stuff to show off coming up, so stay tuned. Yeah, that's about it for now. In the future, I'll try to keep the updates smaller. Like, how long was this? Let's see here. Been recording for 30 minutes. Okay, yeah, I'm going to try to do more like 10 minutes, 10, 15 in the future. But I guess I hadn't updated in a long time. And actually, one thing you might notice is I have a new apartment now. It's kind of messy, but I got a new apartment. I used to have roommates. Oh yeah, it's super messy right now. But I used to have roommates. Now I have my own apartment, which is also going to help. And there's a few other things, like I got to get a new job right now. I might need to get a new job, so that might slow me down a bit. But having the new apartment is pretty clutch. It's really going to help a lot. I love having my own apartment. You can't really see too much from here, apart from all the stuff flying around. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my new apartment. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back in a week or two. See ya.